So let's talk a little bit about love bombing, and specifically on whether love bombing can affect us differently depending on our backstories and family history. So does love bombing affect us differently depending on our backstory? Yeah, it does. So let's look at this again as a legacy issue. I'm going to ask you the question I asked you in another video recently. Did you have a narcissistic family system, parent, or other forms of emotional adversity in your family system that ever filled you with a sense of not being enough, of being damaged, of being confused, and getting the message that love meant giving up on yourself, not just in your family of origin, but it also became a schema that persisted into other adult relationships. And that all of that versus growing up in a normal, healthy family. It may not have been perfect, but you felt loved and seen and valued, and your parents or caregivers had healthy enough relationships with each other or went on to have healthy relationships, and you didn't feel like you had to hide yourself to be loved or always live in their service. So let's start there. Love bombing is love bombing. Okay? The narcissistic person typically doesn't know your full history when they first meet you. Now, sure, they may slowly extract it from you, but they don't know it when they meet you. They just love bomb because that's what they do in all the ways they do. And we had a recent video that even takes this on, all the different ways that narcissistic people love bomb. And let's not focus on the more subtle types of love bombing. Let's just stay for a moment and focus on the classical, flashy, fairy tale, fun, you're the best, greatest love story ever, flowers, moonlight, dinner, gifts, hot sex, weekends away, no one will ever love you like I do love bombing, okay? It's different. How we experience this is different depending on our backstory. So let's start with those of you who might have come from normal family systems, healthy enough ones. It may seem like, okay, like, yeah, I'm worthy of this. I deserve this. Romance, great. That healthy sense of self that you have developed can mean that, like, wonderful. I found someone special. We're having fun. They think I'm special. Yep, that's great. That's it. No panic. No waiting for like a person to come from the side and say, psych, just kidding. It fits that someone thinks you're great. And that doesn't mean that you're grandiose. It means that you're healthy. We all deserve to be seen and cherished and believe we deserve to be seen and cherished. It may not be that you want someone to spend lots of money and the like, but rather that you believe relationships are healthy, happy, and even fun places where, again, you are seen and heard and cherished and experienced and empathized with, and you do the same back, right? Some of you may be listening to this and saying, but doesn't that mean that healthy people should be able to see the unhealthy stuff better than other folks? Shouldn't they be better able to see the little toxic flags that start popping up during love bombing and that get worse over time? Listen, trauma bonding in a narcissistic relationship can happen even if you come from a normal, healthy family. So as a result, we may find that as we start to fall in love with someone, that we want the good stuff to last. We believe that problems can be solved and figured out. And the rationalizations that you make for them are quite rational. But it's an interesting balance. The experience that you have while you're being love bombing is that this is like, yeah, this is cool. This makes sense. And it's a fun, fabulous start to having that kind of fun, fabulous start to a relationship. That part isn't surprising. It feels good and it fits. And sadly, the vulnerabilities to getting stuck and justifying are there, but it fits. Now, when a person who comes out of a narcissistic family of origin or just lots of adversities in childhood is being love bombed, that's an entirely different story. It still feels good, but it's a bit more dangerous because instead of this experience of love bombing being, of course, I deserve a good love story. This feels good. Why not? Love is safe and fun and fab. Instead, what's happening is a deep yearning is being filled for you to finally be seen, to be valued, to have someone give you a gift and it not be dysfunctional yet, or feel like that someone values you enough to plan something special or tell you that you're wonderful or beautiful or amazing. And this isn't just fun. This actually fills a gap in our emotional DNA sequence. It's not just feeling we deserve something. It's feeling alive for the first time. And yes, you may look sideways and suspiciously at it and wonder, okay, when is the joke up? When is this all going to go away? Being told that nobody has ever loved you like this before seems plausible. Then, of course, the euphoria or happiness or just the new sensations are punctuated by familiar stuff. Anger, withdrawal, gaslighting. Well, that's the easy part. You know how to deal with that. And when that shows up, it's like one of those desserts where they light it on fire. The dessert is already delicious, but now they've set it on fire and it becomes sort of an exciting spectacle. You can't look away at those bananas flambé. That old, familiar, toxic stuff is familiar. And yes, not only do you do the sort of cognitive rationalizations and justifications and making sense of it, but you also may feel familiar bodily sensations, a primal sense of, oh, of course, and you don't run away when toxic stuff shows up, but you were sadly indoctrinated and trained for a lifetime for just this. And that love bombing stuff just became a more toxic gateway for you because those loved bombed memories that might have only been the first month of the relationship may carry you for decades of toxic. Trauma bonding and love bombing and all the toxic dynamics are even more toxic when they are coming on the heels of what happens in a toxic or narcissistic family system. Because developmentally, these patterns get encoded and embodied within us. And the love bombing can make it superficially feel different. Unlike in our families of origin, with love bombing, we feel a little loved. We definitely feel seen. But then when that narcissistic stuff starts showing up, then it's that whole familiar foundation. And that's why these sequences can be so potent in adulthood. And if the narcissism that shows up in adulthood is different than what you grew up with, for example, you had a vulnerable narcissistic parent, and then you end up in an adult relationship with a grandiose narcissist, or you had a grandiose, selfish, narcissistic parent and run up against a communal, seemingly giving and humanitarian rescuey narcissist, the key patterns are the same. What it does to you is the same. The trauma bonding is the same, but it looks very different on the surface of it all. So you may think you're getting into something very different. For example, you may have had an impulsive, selfish, financially irresponsible parent. But then as an adult, you meet a self-righteous, slightly malignant, but very financially controlling, responsible narcissist, again, whose behavior feels very controlled and disciplined. At the surface of it, that might look different. But what they do to you is exactly the same. If you keep breaking a leg in the same place, it not only takes longer to heal, but that injury may also take more of a toll over time. Narcissistic abuse is cumulative in the same way. Whether love bombing is something that makes sense to you because you grew up in a loving family, or it fills a gaping emotional hole that never even got to be filled ever in your life because now you have regard and simply being seen, that craving of a lifetime, it sets us up for an act 2 that's never good for us. Healthy relationships tend to start a little more quietly. Yes, there may be wonderful experiences. It's always exciting to get to know someone new. But there's also this sense that you can be yourself, that one mistake won't sink the ship. It feels safe and not as much, it doesn't feel primal as much as it feels balanced. That's the long game. Balance, not excitement or psychological yearning being addressed or ancient wounds being soothed, but someone present with you where you both make each other grow. Love stories are not meant to be compensatory. Love stories aren't supposed to patch over the harms and sins of the past, but rather love stories are a place we can grow in now. And the challenge of using love stories as being compensatory, well, that last person cheated on me and this person is so bizarrely loyal that they never will do that. You could be opening up to a new host of problems. This person was financially irresponsible. I'm going to find the financially responsible one. When we keep trying to fill in holes, that's where we miss the moment of being present, paying attention to how we feel, how we're being treated, what's coming back out of us towards them, to stay in that instead of viewing a relationship as a place to heal our scars. It actually becomes a place for us to show up as our whole selves. And that means that before you even get into the relationship, you have to work and give permission to that whole self. And that's a lot tougher when you grew up in a narcissistic family. Hope that helps. And love bombing sucks no matter what you came from, but it affects you in different ways. Thanks again.